Tonight on CBC Vancouver News.
It's all about money.
Pay, parking, permanent.
It's kind of a last bastion of accessible recreation.
It will cost you to park at Spanish Banks Beach from now on. The park board says there's a lot to pay for.
Seem to be reasonable for the majority of commissioners.
Plus,
immunization rate is below what we need for the herd immunity.
Health officials warn about cases of measles in northeastern BC. The push to get more people vaccinated. And
right now it looks a little bit dim.
Less foot traffic, parking's really hard.
Some business owners in Langley City say they are trying to hang on amid major construction. The city says there will be long-term benefits.
There's going to be street furniture for people to come in and sit around, lots of street trees for shade.
This is CBC Vancouver News.
Hello, I'm Dan Burritt. Thanks for joining us. If you plan to hit one of Vancouver's most popular beaches this summer, get ready to keep paying to bring a car. The city's park board has decided to make pay parking at Spanish Banks Beach permanent. Pinky Wong has more on the push for money and reaction.
It's very unfortunate there's not a great bus service along here.
The days of parking for free at Spanish Banks are over. Not welcome news for some beachgoers here.
People come to picnic, they bring lots of stuff, they really are mostly dependent on cars.
The park board's decision will cover more than 740 parking spaces across 4 lots. Drivers will eventually have to pay $1.50 an hour, a 50-cent increase.
It's all about money. And I also note that the washrooms down at the west side of Spanish Banks, they just opened them for the season, but they've had those closed forever.
We play volleyball down here every Tuesday, so I already pay like a ton of money to play in that league that I'm now paying to, park here.
The board says the money from the pilot has been used for cleaning and improving park maintenance and to rebuild Jericho Pier, badly damaged by rough weather more than 3 years ago.
We had to pay $1 million to rebuild that pier, and that's just opened last week. We also spend hundreds of thousands of dollars a year maintaining the dog off-leash areas out here.
Digby says they also hope permanent paid parking will deter overnight camping and RV stays. But another commissioner thinks that can be tackled by charging those drivers later and overnight.
They are charging residents of Vancouver who already are suffering. They find it hard to live here, an additional expense. And it's nice to have just a few sacred spaces in Vancouver where you don't have to always pay.
Park board staff are looking at offering lower prices in quieter seasons. Vancouver is just one community looking to expand paid parking. The District of West Vancouver is also looking at charging drivers in more places to cover costs. Paid parking at Cypress Falls and Seaview Trail have been in place since the spring. Councillor Sharon Thompson says the money is sorely needed.
Bathrooms that were a mess, garbage cans overflowing, concern over fire hazards, maintenance of the parking areas. And so we needed to generate some money to put more into that with all the visitorship.
Thompson says the district is also looking to expand paid parking to Ambleside this summer. Pinky Wong, CBC News, West Vancouver.
Well, it is official. Vancouver will rename Trutch Street in the Kitsilano neighborhood. As Jessica Chung explains, it's what members of the Musqueam band called a step forward for reconciliation.
You won't be seeing this street name in the Kitsilano neighborhood starting Friday after Vancouver City Council voted for the first time to change the street name to one gifted by the Musqueam Indian Band in their language.
And that passes unanimously. So congratulations.
Council decided to strip the Trutch name from the street back in 2021. The vote today gives the 16-block street a new name. It will now be known as Musqueam View Street in English and Huamusqueam Awesome in Hunkaminam, something the nation says is a big step in reconciliation.
It's taken a long time to get to this point.
The street was originally named after Joseph Trutch, BC's first lieutenant governor. The push to change the name came after his racist policies against Indigenous people, including his part in drastically reducing the size of reserves and refusing to let Indigenous people purchase land from non-Indigenous folks.
If they're changing it because he was a white supremacist, horrible person, I support that.
I think we might have difficulty actually spelling the name of the street and remembering what it meant, but that's our problem.
But some in the community expressed concerns, flagging difficulties saying or writing the Hunkaminam name in legal documents and in emergency situations. The city says precautions are in place, and emergency services like police, fire, and 911 agencies have been notified.
We will always have an English word next to the Hunkaminam word, so you're never going to be in a situation that puts you in an unsafe space.
For the Musqueam Indian Band, this is more than a street renaming, but a chance to honor their language.
The colonial system forced us to speak English and took our language away. And I have all the confidence in the world that the people that speak English will walk with our staff to learn the other way. The only thing is we won't punish them if they can't speak it.
The new signs with both names will be put up on Friday, and the city plans to install interpretive signs and audio boxes to educate people on the history of the street name. Jessica Chung, CBC News, Vancouver.
BC Premier David Eby says more needs to be done to stop extortion, something he says is impacting BC's South Asian community in particular.
It's an issue of concern in Alberta and Ontario as well. There are allegations that gangs in India are operating here in our province and in other provinces to intimidate and extort business owners.
Eby is calling on Ottawa to list the Lawrence Bishnoi Group as a terrorist organization in Canada and to work with Mounties to identify any other groups involved in similar activities. Northern Health is warning there are 18 suspected and confirmed cases of measles in northeastern BC. Health officials say the disease is circulating in the town of Wanawun and surrounding areas of the Peace River region. Northern Health says it believes the initial case was acquired through travel, and the community may have now been exposed since late May. These new cases bring the total number province-wide this year so far to 30.
Immunization rate is below what we need for the herd immunity to the level that protect all the community. So we are watching closely to ensure that it can respond to the situation and protect our community.
Interior Health has also confirmed one case of measles in Sparwood on the Alberta border. Dr. Kim says Northern Health is working to increase vaccine supplies and care facilities. He says children and infants are the most vulnerable and ought to get vaccinated immediately. Canada has now pledged $4.3 billion in new support for embattled Ukraine. Prime Minister Mark Carney made that announcement at the close of the G Summit earlier in the day.
This underscores the importance of standing in total solidarity with Ukraine, with the Ukrainian people. And we had a discussion last night amongst G7 leaders. The President and I will discuss more.
Carney met with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on the sidelines of the G7 gathering. About half the amount of Canada's donation will go to weapons. The other will be used to help Ukraine rebuild infrastructure. Canada also announced a new sanctions targeting Russia's energy revenues and hundreds of vessels in its shadow fleet. Well, end-of-school year parties at 3 South Okanagan elementary schools will be extra poignant this year. That's because they will soon be closed for good. As Kimberly Davidson reports, the district says it's due to dropping enrollment.
The bell is ringing for one of the very last times at Carmi Elementary School in Penticton. Carmi is one of 3 elementary schools in the Okanagan-Skaha School District that will not reopen its doors in the fall because of restructuring.
Over the last 25 years, our district is down 2,000 students. So the board last year made the decision to reconfigure the school district, which included closing 3 schools, consolidating.
Grade 8 students in middle schools moved up to secondary schools last fall. This fall, primary students from kindergarten to grade 5 will join grades 6 and 7 at their larger facilities.
Good morning, Carmi. Please get ready for morning announcements.
The parent advisory committees have been heavily involved in the transition, as some parents are nervous about sending their little ones to a school with over 500 students in it, with older students in the mix.
It was a bit of a concern and a bit of a question on what that was going to look like now with a more diverse school community for kids going from kindergarten to grade 7.
The principal of Carmi says she understands those concerns, and staff have been doing what they can to make the transition from one school model to the other as easy as possible on all of the students.
Grade 6 students from KVR have come to Carmi to be big buddies to the Carmi students because they will be a school community next year.
The students here at Carmi, as imagined, are expressing mixed feelings about the move. Isaac and Bennett Olson are twins, both in 4th grade.
It's going to be a little bit overwhelming because there's going to be so many people and it's a big school, so yeah. It's going to be nice. I mean, we're going to have some new classes. I'm going to be in a different class. I'm going to meet some new friends.
Legacy celebrations will be held at each of the closing elementary schools for the entire community to attend before the end of the school year. Kimberly Davidson, CBC News, Penticton.
Business owners in Langley City Centre are concerned major construction is driving away customers. Crews are replacing aging water mains as well as hydro, which will eventually enhance public space in that area. But as John Hernandez explains, some businesses fear they won't last that long.
He barks at them and yells at them.
Lord Marshall isn't a big fan of construction workers or the noises they make.
It shakes him up a bit, so sometimes he's a little flustered.
The pub's owner, a man known around these parts as Crazy Bob. His decades-old emporium is the kind of place you stumble upon.
It's an experience transporting you through time and space of nostalgia of items.
An experience he fears might not be around much longer. Since January, construction has shut down this stretch of Fraser Highway. Crews are replacing aging infrastructure underground. Crazy Bob has seen business drop by as much as 50%.
Right now, it looks a little bit dim. It's hard to recover from losses of 50% and still pay yourself, pay the staff, or have anything ever after.
With the road closed and fences lining the sidewalk, foot traffic here has dwindled.
Less foot traffic, parking's really hard. People are having to park at Valley Village, or they do a couple laps and then some people just give up.
This retro game store owner says he's one of the lucky ones.
I think being on the corner here, I think I've fared better than any other businesses that are like in the middle of the construction that people don't even know that they're there.
The city is aware of the disruption.
This city engineer says the work has to be done, so the city will use the opportunity to improve public space.
It acts as a draw. There's going to be street furniture for people to come in and sit around, lots of street trees for shade, and opportunities to also take part in public events down in that area.
Some businesses hopeful it will pay off in the long run.
It's just going to help bring more foot traffic to the area, which our businesses really need.
Hopefully we make it, but if we don't, at least I know that I made the mark in the community, that this was a place that people loved.
The project, expected to be finished in August, the city says the work is on schedule. John Hernandez, CBC News, Langley.
Darius Manavi is here with our look at the weather and the fire danger map that is changing somehow.
Yes, I mean, we continue to see low fire danger up in the northeast, although some places in the south have seen their fire danger start to rise over the last few days. This suppressed fire danger continues to be a result of all that rain that we saw up in the Peace region over the weekend. Remains to be seen how long it will stay low in the absence of more rain coming in. Down here in southern BC, you can also see that we have moderate to high fire danger in many areas, largely a result of elevated temperatures that we've had recently, although some more showers have helped and will continue to help as we see some more rain moving in over the next couple of days. Very scattered showers, but there will be something, although a risk of thunderstorms also on parts of the lower mainland as we get into the rest of, as we get into tomorrow, Dan.
Okay, Darius, thanks very much.
Thank you.
67 years ago on this day, the Second Narrows Bridge collapsed during construction, killing 19 workers. Earlier in the day, the last survivor of that 1958 tragedy honored his colleagues.
Thank you to all the people that help organize and attend the memorial.
Lucien Lessard and members of Ironworkers Local 97 gathered at New Brighton Park for the memorial in the shadow of the bridge, now known as Ironworkers Memorial. The 96-year-old was a young construction worker on the deck on June 17th when it fell out from under his feet. 79 workers plunged into Burrard Inlet. Lessard suffered broken bones and bruises. Historians say the bridge collapsed due to several engineering mistakes, including the use of inappropriate materials and lax safety practices. After the break, why one man was acquitted of sex assault after arguing he acted unconsciously while under the influence of magic mushrooms. That's next.
Hey, I'm Rohith Joseph. Vibin' is the new show all about discovering great new songs and fresh artists from across BC and beyond. Stream Vibin' on CBC Listen.
A BC man has successfully argued that a combination of mushrooms and cannabis put him in a certain state where he got so intoxicated he wasn't criminally liable for sexual assault. The CBC's Jason Proctor spoke with our Benit Braich earlier.
So what you have is this guy in Surrey, is a landscaper who's been dealing with some depression and stuff like that. He'd smoked cannabis for it before, but one night, a Friday night in March 2019, he decides to eat some magic mushrooms. And basically what he says is he sort of at some point kind of came to with this idea that humanity was corrupt and that basically the only way to save it is for him to have sexual congress, as he put it, with a woman, and he goes out, tries to find somebody, comes across this terrified stranger who he attacks, He tries to pull her clothes off. He knocks her to the ground. At some point, he takes all his clothes off. A dog pile of police officers are taken in to basically bring him down. And he is completely, oblivious to pain, seems to be in an altered state. And so ultimately, it took a long while to get to trial, and that's because of things that happened at the Supreme Court of Canada in the meantime. But he was able to successfully argue that he was in a state of automatism, so that is sort of irresponsible for his actions because of this. And so, he put that forward in provincial court.
So you mentioned that state. What really led to his acquittal then?
Yeah, so basically, this is interesting because this is a legal issue in Canada that goes back decades with the idea that extreme intoxication can make you, not responsible, not criminally liable for your actions. And so that's what he was able to argue here, that the mushrooms put him in this state of automatism. Basically, you're like a robot and you have no control over your actions. And because the Supreme Court actually, at some point of Canada, had made that defense unavailable to people, but it was brought down before because there's the idea that, well, if you truly don't know, you could put somebody who's morally innocent in jail because of something they were not criminally liable for. That was struck down. They've actually now amended that, but in the meantime, this guy was sentenced, and so, not sentenced, I should say, he was acquitted and found not guilty, sexual assault, and there you go.
All right, Jason, interesting story. Thank you.
Thank you.
While the new Patello Bridge is under construction, you can now see one of its art installations from the Highway 17 Old Yale Road overpass in Surrey. It's located on the border of two former First Nations reserves, and Kwantlen artist Phyllis Atkins honored that in her work. Have a look.
My name is Phyllis Atkins, and I'm from Kwantlen First Nation. We're standing here at the Old Yale Road, and this is my artwork. This was inspired by sturgeon scoots that I received, and these came off the back of a female that we found just upstream from Kwantlen. And the ulikin here, to me, it kind of looks like a Salish weaving, like the Salish wool weaving. This is a male and female ulikin. It's a very important traditional food of our people. I wouldn't have been able to come up with this idea hadn't I been out on the river in our unceded traditional territory of Kwantlen. We had sites up and down the Fraser, Staloo, so I got to see firsthand the perspective on the river that our people used to travel and fish for thousands of years, and I just really felt that connection. So it's nice that people will be able to drive past this and actually see Kwantlen's traditional territory.
And on Wednesday, we are going to take you onto the deck of the new Patello Bridge. The gap is now narrowed between the Surrey and Westminster sides to just 80 meters, and it's closing fast. We'll have an exclusive behind-the-scenes tour as that span nears completion. True kind of January day on the west coast of Vancouver Island. Not keeping people off of Mackenzie Beach, though, in Tofino. Beautiful spot. Darius has your BC-wide weather forecast coming up next.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell, and here's what's in your CBC inbox.
CBC is the exclusive media partner of the Indian Summer Festival, July 4th to 13th. The theme of Borderless Solidarities invites audiences into spaces of shared breath, joyful defiance, and deep listening. Tickets at indiansummerfest.ca, and CBC's Musical Nooners is back on July 2nd. It's a free, family-friendly concert series that brings together community, culture, and live music every Wednesday at noon.
Darius Madavi's here with our BC-wide weather forecast, and it is busy in the northeast.
That's right. Quite a number of thunderstorms. There's a severe thunderstorm watch in place as well. We've seen some lightning strikes in the central interior too. I do want to note this isn't necessarily all dry lightning. We don't have radar coverage up in this part of the province, so worth noting that as you take a look at that graphics. But I would say that's a lot of lightning for what is likely a relatively minimal amount of precipitation. In the central interior, a few lightning strikes as well, but not severe enough to warrant a warning there. If we take a look at our expected precipitation over the next few days, you can see a lot of it coming in scattered showers into the southwestern parts of BC, and some more rain expected up in the northeast. Part of the piece that has already seen quite a bit of precipitation recently after a very, very long dry stretch. That's why we had those flood warnings in place for parts of the piece around BD River, and that's why we're keeping a close eye on this as more rain is expected to come to the area as well as to parts of the southern interior as well, likely along with some thunderstorms as we get into tomorrow. In terms of a smoke forecast, you can see some of these major fires up in the northeast putting off a lot of smoke, which is why we are watching this area as well in terms of air quality, because it has been quite bad in recent days and will likely continue to be over the next few days. In terms of highs over the next few days, you can see that in the southern interior, staying relatively constant as we head into tomorrow and Thursday. And as we get into Friday, some places may see them come down a little bit, including here on the coast, as we see a bit of a more precipitation roll in, which means that we will likely have a bit of a wet start to the weekend here in Vancouver and across more southern parts of the island as well. Again, looking out for that surface smoke on this graphic up there in the far northern parts of the province, and then some thunderstorms rolling through the south, including possible for the lower mainland and up the sea to sky here. And here's our 5-day forecast. Dan, overall, a bit showery, but some sunshine in there too.
Okay, we'll take it. Thanks, Darius.
Thank you.
And thank you for being with us on CBC Vancouver News. You can watch this newscast on CBC Gem, our free app, as well as on YouTube and our website, cbc.ca/BC. Your next local news is on the early edition on CBC Radio 1. That starts tomorrow morning at 5:30. Good night.